Hey everyone, it's Dr. Jen. Welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I'm Dr. Jen, board certified pediatrician and spokes doctor for the American Academy of Pediatrics. And I'm here today. We're going to talk all about winter weather, health and safety tips for kids. I know everyone's getting excited. Christmas is almost around the corner. Everyone's hoping for a white Christmas. I think some places in the United States, obviously there's lots of snow already. Kids are ready to get out of school. Vacation is going to start. So we want to keep our kids healthy, safe, and having fun outdoors this winter. So I've got a lot of good tips for parents today and answering many of the questions that I received through my website and on social. So here we go. So my first tip is all about layers. Layers, layers, layers. Lots of layers of clothing. It's the best way to keep your child warm. And so one tip is that children usually need one extra layer than you're comfortable, particularly young children and infants and toddlers. So one extra layer than you have on will really do the trick. And when we're talking about layers, that first layer for kids, you really want to keep them warm. You want the heat in, and you want to keep the wetness and perspiration out. So things like a layer, like a wool layer, or layers that have silk or silk blends in them, those can be really comforting to kids and keep them nice and dry and cool as well. And then they actually keep you drier and work better than even cotton as a first layer. And then the next layer is like something cozy, comfortable, like a fleece layer can be really great for kids. And then their outer layer, their jackets, it's great if you can get something that's like water resistant or waterproof, will help with the wind, and if they're rolling around playing or they get wet or they have snowballs or they're doing ski or snow sports. So a waterproof jacket can be really helpful. And also you want to, with kids, my next tip is really about avoiding frostbite. And that's really keeping the extremities warm as well too, right? So the hands and the feet, the tip of the nose, these are all areas that are more likely to get frostbite because they are exposed. So mittens and gloves, hats are really important too. People always ask me, but yes, mittens actually work better because you get the heat from your hand, from your body heat, and so the fingers keeping together as opposed to being apart. Mittens can be really comfy and keep kids warm as well too. So you want mittens. Again, wool socks are great. Even if you have waterproof boots, can be really helpful as well, because when kids get damp and wet, they get uncomfortable and more likely to get cold and feel cold as well too. And so scarves also to cover their noses, and again, hats, earmuffs, whatever is fun that they like to wear, that you can get them to wear, is really important, and that will help especially when we're thinking about being out long periods of time, extended periods of time, and frostbite. So what is frostbite? So it's when the areas, as I said, the fingertips or the nose, it is not red, it actually is the next step on. It actually looks white or grayish. It can feel numb, they could be blistering. That is worrisome. You want to make sure that you bring your child in right away. And to be honest, if your child is red or not comfortable, you should bring them in quite sooner and take lots of breaks throughout the day if they're playing outside. But if you ever notice anything that you're worried about or concerned that's frostbite, you bring them indoors. And you want to make sure that you don't rub the area. I think that's an issue or a concern that parents have, and they do it wrong. They rub the area. So you want to put like some warm heat on it, about 100 degrees or so, like a wet, warm washcloth, and to warm the area up. You don't want to make it burning hot. And again, if you have any concerns, or your child is complaining, or there's numbness, or they're just not acting right, always act on the side of caution. Call your healthcare provider or get medical attention right away if you're concerned about any type of frostbite with your child. But a key is prevention, so coming in early, making sure that they're bundled up, that their clothing is not wet, and that can help again against frostbite as well too. So head safety. So as I said, you always want to keep the head warm. So yes, wearing a hat is really important for kids. But the other thing that's really important for kids is helmets. And helmets not just for skiing, so that's probably the big one people remember skiing, but skiing, snowboarding, ice skating too, as well as sledding. Really important because these type of fun activities, though they're fun, high risk of head injury as well too. So you want to make sure a couple things, that they are wearing a helmet, that they're wearing it properly. So it has to fit properly, right? So you actually don't want a bicycle helmet. You want an outdoor, like winter sports helmet for skiing and sledding, and that fits, make sure it fits appropriately, that it's not moving back and forth on the head, that the chin strap is tight enough, and that it fits obviously the size of your child's head. And how do you get them to wear it more? So my tips are to start early. So if you always wear it, they'll get used to it. Again, it becomes a habit or a behavior. And make it fun. They can pick the colors, they can put stickers on it, whatever they want to do that will make them wear their helmet is helpful. And as a parent, probably the most important thing you can do is be a good role model. So if you're skiing with your child, you should also wear a helmet too. So if they see you're doing it, they understand the importance of it. If you're not going to wear a helmet, then why are they going to wear a helmet? So it's really important to model that good behavior for your child as well too. It's really a must. So talking about snow sports, let's just talk about a little things that can be helpful with the different fun sports outside in the winter. So ice skating is a great thing to do with your kids. You want to make sure that it's on an approved surface, right, that there's supervision. You have to really be careful, and I'm really wary of ponds just going out because there may be areas that are frozen and may not be frozen. It can be very dangerous. The child can fall in. So really in a supervised area that is been approved and that there are other people around is really important. When your kids are ice skating, you also want to make sure, really with any of these outdoor sports, that they're not eating or chewing gum where they can choke as well too. So that could be a hazard. And of course, as I said, for ice skating, you really want your child to be wearing a helmet too. If you can, elbow and even wrist guards are really good too because they often fall right on their hands, and we see a lot of broken arms that way as well too. So knee pads are great too, so they don't get scraped knees. But whatever you can do to help prevent injury is great, particularly with these outdoor sports. Sleds are so much fun too, but again, make sure that you're doing it properly. Besides wearing a helmet, you want your child to go down feet first as opposed to sliding down head first on their bellies. Again, head injuries are much decreased if you're going down feet first. And you want to make sure also, it's always an area where kids are playing and there's big kids and little kids. If you have very young children or toddlers, you may want to have a separate area for them to go sledding than when the older kids, so it's not so scary and so accidents don't occur as much either. And you want to make sure never to sled on streets. I know that sounds odd, but lots of people do that when there's very hilly roads, but you have to be careful of obviously cars and oncoming traffic. So it really has to be in an area that's safe. And that the sled won't slide right into oncoming traffic or any type of traffic or pedestrians as well too. So again, just make sure that you scope out the area with your kids first and make sure it's a safe place for them to play. Skiing is a great sport to start with your kids, especially young. Lessons is definitely the way to go. Make sure that they have all the equipment that fits properly, that they have lessons, that they stay within the group with supervision, and they stay right on the slopes to start, not going to any tree areas until they are very experts, but that also raises the risk of accidents as well too. And snowmobiles, it's important to talk about snowmobiles. They're sort of the rage now, right? Everyone wants snowmobiles and it's sort of a fun thing to do. But the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that drivers be at least 16 years of age or older, and that anyone under the age of 6 should not, even with supervision or an adult, should not be riding on a snowmobile because it's just too dangerous and accidents really do happen. So just be careful, and you can still have a great time outside, especially in the cold weather with your kids. Also with snowmobiling, you want to make sure that you wear goggles as well too, again, because you're moving at fast speeds and things can get into your eyes, so it's important to wear goggles as well too when you are on snowmobiles. Another tip that's really important in the winter is to keep hydrated. We always think about that in the summertime, but it's important to keep hydrated in the winter too. They're still outside exercising, running around. Again, all these layers make them perspire and sweat, and actually you kids lose a lot through their breath as well too. So you want to stay hydrated. Have water ready for them. Again, reusable, refillable bottles are great, but also think about thermoses, filling them with soup. That's a liquid too, so you can hydrate with soup. Even hot chocolate or hot cocoa that kids love is a way to keep them hydrated as well too. So that's a great thing to do, but just make sure that they drink before they go out, that they take frequent breaks, and that they drink at the end of the day too, and that they take off all the extra layers, and if anything's wet as well. Because again, you want to make sure that they're getting enough fluids in. So let me talk a little bit about car safety in the winter time too. So right, we all want to be bundled up and don't like to go into a cold car. So oftentimes people turn the engine on and warm the car up just really, really be careful that it's in a well-ventilated place, that you're not doing this in a garage, right? Because you want to, all the fumes can be toxic, as well as carbon monoxide poisoning. So you want to make sure that it is open. And you never really want to leave your child alone in the car anyway, even if it's in park. You never know if it can roll or something can happen. So just be careful. And car seat safety as well is important too. So when you're putting your child in the car seat, you want to just make sure that they're wearing their regular clothes. You don't want big bulky jackets or blankets or pillows or anything, because again, that hinders the safety of the car seat. So it has to fit appropriately with the straps and the buckles, everything in its right position, and the impact doesn't really help if you have a heavy jacket on. So how do you keep your child warm if you're in the car? Then you can cover the car seat with a blanket or with their jacket, but not to have them wearing it, because then the car seat will not be fitting appropriately and will not be doing what it's supposed to do to help safety of your child in case of a crash. And then the other thing is just wintertime too, and it's just another good time to recheck, is to make sure that you have a first aid kit that you keep in your car. You can keep it in the trunk. Just make sure also that you can also keep things you might not think of: extra water in the car, extra batteries in the car in case you break down and you need to use your cell phone. So it's good if you have an extra charger as well, things like that you may not have thought of, but also to have Band-Aids and to have an ace bandage or even ice packs or things just in case you need it if your child does get sick and you're on the road. So sunscreen, that's another tip that I have. People often don't think about sunscreen in the wintertime, right? And the sun can be really glaring and bright, particularly when it's shining off the snow. So I see this many times when I come back from school vacations, especially in December and February, and patients have gone out skiing and they're up on the mountains and stuff, that they come back with really bad burns. First degree, second degree burns of their face because they forgot to put sunscreen on. They didn't think so because the temperature was so low, but it is really sunny. So probably the best thing you can do for your kids is when they wake up and before they get dressed is to put a layer of sunscreen on. There's sunscreen and moisturizers together, so you can do that in the morning, and then when they're out all day and they're doing their sports, you can reapply during lunchtime as well too. But you want to look for sunscreen with an SPF of at least 30, and that's broad spectrum. And that will be really helpful so they don't feel uncomfortable and can continue on with their activities all day long. And just lastly, my last tip is fires, right? So we often build more fires, whether it's outside or inside having a fireplace. You want to be careful with kids, so make sure that it's well ventilated, but also that there's a gate where your child can't get into trouble or fall over or touch the fire. They may be very curious when they're little, and toddlers are excited to look at the fire. So you really, never want to leave a child alone in a room, even when there's a fireplace. And you also have to be really cautious of things like electric heaters as well too. So they make them better now, but still you can get burns if you put your hand against it, if it doesn't shut off right away. Sometimes they turn off if they tip over, but not always. So you really want to be careful, especially when kids are involved. And also, again, you want to make sure that your carbon monoxide detectors and your smoke detectors in your home work. And so it's a great time to always check. You should probably check it monthly, but this is just a reminder to check your carbon monoxide and your smoke detectors as well. So those are my top safety tips for winter time. I hope that helps you and your children have fun. I asked a question on Instagram about wintertime, and I'm going to reveal the answer. My question was to all the parents listening, are your kids more likely to get sick if they go out with wet hair? And the majority of people answered it right, but I certainly hear that a lot when people come in for sick visits. I think my child got sick because they went out with wet hair or they weren't wearing a jacket. And no, you do not get sick. You do not get colds and flus and fevers from not wearing a jacket or from having wet hair. You get them from viruses and from bacteria and other microorganisms and germs. That's how you get sick. And in fact, you get sick more when you're inside. So in the winter, right, when we're all huddled together because it's so cold, people aren't going outside and they're doing more activities inside, those germs spread more frequently. And that's why we see a lot of those cold and flu viruses definitely in the wintertime. So it's not, I know your teens are gonna going to be very happy with me, but it's going out with wet hair. They may feel cold, but they probably won't tell you. And you may not like it that they're going out with wet hair, but it is not going to make them get sick. So I hope that was helpful. This is Dr. Jen on Ask Dr. Jen on What's Up Wednesday. And keep those questions coming, and have happy holidays. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.